Hi class, so welcome to your poetry overview, and we're already on module 2. So in this section, we're going to be looking at poetry, and we're going to hear some poets read their work. I have videos on these following pages that I would really like you to look at. There's a lot of information in this chapter that you need to take notes on, so please take really good notes when you're working on the overview of poetry. Now, this section does go fast, but it requires a lot from you as far as taking notes and remembering information. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at poetry, and we're also going to be looking at literary devices that make the poetry work. So a good piece of poetry expresses an idea or feeling. That feeling flows to a reader or listener, and the interpretation resonates with the individual. That individual is you. So there's absolutely no right or wrong answer to how a poem is represented because it is made for the individual. However, you need to employ the literary devices in expressing your ideas, and that's what we're going to be talking about in this unit, in this module. So I've uploaded some poets, and who are some of them are reading their work, and some of them are read by other people, actors. But the important thing that I want you to know when you're working with this section is that poetry is meant to be listened to and not just read on the page, because it has a life of its own. And the readings from this module are pages 1 through 16 from Writing from the Inner Voice. So that's where you're going to find all the poems that you need in this section. Module 2.2 has some PowerPoint slides that I do talk about the elements of poetry. These are slides that I created. I also have the PowerPoint slides for you to access. So please make sure that you read these very carefully, and you watch this video, and you take down notes, because I am expecting you to use these elements in your analysis of the poetry that you're going to be reading. So I don't want you to just summarize the poems. I want you to analyze them, talking about the devices that you learned from these PowerPoint slides, and also from the pages that I've provided for you in this section. There's a video here I'd like you to watch on why is poetry important, and you can just click on the link and it'll take you to that in module 2.3. In module 2.4, we talk about Rumi and Shakespeare. So please note that the poems by these authors from your textbook are on pages 2 and 4. Please note that they may differ from the ones on the videos. So here is a Rumi video, and then the explaining the Shakespeare sonnet. Really take good notes on this particular video. And then there's someone here reading a sonnet, a Shakespeare sonnet, so that you can listen to it and see how it resonates. So really look at the language and the structure that the poems have, and listen to the language and structure by the poets, and by the reading of them. And on module 2.5, there's Elizabeth Barrett Browning, Walt Whitman, and W.B. Yeats. So there's some poems, videos of the poems, and also the poems from the book are on pages 7, 9, and 11. So please note that they may differ from the ones in the videos. So here's some videos for you to listen to. And then on module 2.6, I have Surenyan-Krech and Emily Dickinson, and you can listen to the poems read by other people. None of these poems are read by the authors. So the authors' poems are on pages 12 and 13 in your book. Then I have a video on the elements of poetry that I'd like you to take notes on. And then on 2.8, Module 2.8, we have some poetry terms that you need to review and take notes on as well. And so I am expecting you to use this type of language when you're analyzing the poems. And then there's a poetry discussion on Module 2.9. And then on Module 2.10, there's a study guide for the poetry essay. And then on Module 2.11 is the instructions for the poetry essay that you can review and look at. And I also have the rubric of how I'm going to be grading the paper right over here. So I've included the rubric for your essays on all the pages of your essays. Also, please note that this is a critical analysis essay. And when you're writing a critical analysis, you need to talk about the elements of poetry. I do not want you to summarize the poems. I don't want you to talk about how you feel. I want you to analyze them, talking about the imagery, the language, the metaphor, the simile, and the personification. So that's what I want you to do. Now, I have the assignment here. Write an analysis of the two poems you read in Writing from the Inner Voice. So June Sunset and Never Give All Your Heart. So those are the two poems that you're going to be analyzing in this essay. So it's going to be an essay format. And when I ask for an essay and I ask you to use quotes, it is interpreted and it is implied that you need to have a works cited page as well, because you're using quotes. So you do need it has to be 4 to 5 pages in length. So that means that you need to really analyze the poems very deeply. So before you actually write this essay, what I want you to do is look at these two poems and then analyze them on a sheet of paper or by yourself. Analyze the imagery, the metaphor, the simile, the personification. You could look for similarities in both of those poems, or you can talk about those poems separately. You do need to have one thesis that ties both of those ideas in together. So remember, this is an essay. So you're doing 3 things. You're creating a thesis, you're creating analysis, and then you're putting it all together in an essay. And when I'm asking for an essay, it is always implied that you must have a works cited page for your essay, which will be Writing from the Inner Voice. That is what you're going to include for the works cited page. So there's a little biography in the book that I've included that you could use as well and incorporate it with the authors. You do not have to do any outside research for this essay. As a matter of fact, all I'm expecting you to do is really talking about the style of both of these authors and these poets, and for you to analyze their poems, and that will be enough for 4 to 5 pages in length. So I hope this is clear, and that will make the end of your poetry module. And on our next module, we're going to be talking about drama. So a lot of the information that you are learning in poetry, you're going to be incorporating it into drama as well, which would be in the next module. So that is the end of your overview of your poetry module.